Hi guys, this is my family's 2003 SL55 AMG. We've owned it for 12 years now, so I thought it would be a nice idea for the channel to give an insight into 12 years of ownership, the costs and such, and the experience of owning it. I've got a script because there's quite a bit to remember, so I wanted to cram as much as I could into this one video for you. So the car was introduced back in 2002. The SL before it was quite square and conservative, so when this came out, it was a bit of a game changer, and it was very popular. I think there was about a 2-year waiting list for an SL55 at launch when they came out. So it's a 493 horsepower, 5.4 litre compressor, supercharged, 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds and 155 mile an hour. Most people, if you're watching this video, you probably already know that, to be fair. It was the most powerful Mercedes when it came out, before the 65, the twin turbo V12 came along. Various celebrity owners own one, Jeremy Clarkson, Dale Winton, I think. I don't know. Anyway, some random people. It's actually very similar also, I think, to the SLR that are now going for stupid money. It's a similar engine, similar gearbox, and quite a bit of the switchgear inside is actually shared with them. So this particular one, Tanzanite blue with alpaca grey leather. It's just got 4 options on it because they did come with quite a lot of spec as standard. They came with massage seats, Bose stereo, heated electric seats, obviously aircon, various bits and pieces. It was all pretty much standard, so there was only like the niceties that you could add on. So this one had the 5-spoke wheels that are added on because the original standard wheels were the turbine with 1 million spokes that are a nightmare to clean. It's got the panoramic glass roof on it. And it's got exclusive interior, so that just means the inside, every surface is covered in Napa leather and the roof lining is Alcantara. Also has bird's eye maple wood trim to complement the exclusive interior. So as I said, we've owned the car for 12 years. It's been a great experience. It's been used for loads of long trips. It's been down to Le Mans 3 times, Goodwood, North Wales, various places. Before going into detail about the main ownership and the costs involved over the 12 years of owning it, I thought I'd just go through a couple of the main features of the SL55. The main one obviously being the engine. So around the millennium, Mercedes actually bought AMG because they were a completely separate company working down the road from the factory. They weren't actually owned by them. So when they bought it in-house, they bought in a philosophy of one man, one engine. So every AMG is actually signed on a plaque on top of the engine with the person that actually assembled it and put it together. This engine was based on Mercedes 5-litre V8, which is regarded as one of their most reliable engines. Twin spark, it has 2 spark plugs per cylinder, 3 valves per cylinder, and a single overhead camshaft. They actually fitted the supercharger to that 5-litre V8 to get the power that this produces. And they do actually say that particular supercharger actually takes 100 horsepower just to turn it before it actually adds any horsepower to the engine. Another feature that I thought I'd mention is the roll bar. So the roll bar was actually introduced on the previous SL, the R129, I think mainly due to American regulations. Basically the way it works is the car detects when it's going to potentially roll over and then deploys the roll bar in a couple of seconds. It just pops up. It's also run off the hydraulic pump, but I think it's basically explosives like your seatbelt tensioners that actually activate it when you flip over. There is, quite funnily, there's a road test. I think it was Tiff Nadell did it when he was comparing this to the Porsche 911 at the time, and he was giving it some basically and went over a crest, and the car thought it was going to flip over, so it actually deployed the roll bar during the road test that he was conducting, which was quite funny. Another brand new feature fitted to the SL when it was introduced in 2002 and also fitted to the E-Class at the time was Sensortronic brake control, which is basically electronic brakes. So instead of a normal brake setup, you have a brake pedal, which is basically a switch, an actuator that mimics brake feel, and then the brakes are controlled by a central pump. The idea was it was more precise, it allowed it better distribution when cornering, but also it could react faster, so the braking distances were shorter, and it also had different features. So, for example, in the rain, when the car detected it was raining, it would pulsate the brakes to dry the brake discs, so that if you did hit the brake, it would react faster. It also had a system called brake assist, which recognised the speed at which you hit the pedal, and then they recognise an emergency situation and apply full braking pressure. One of the main features of an SL, since the model was introduced in the 1950s, is the fact the roof comes off. The previous SL to this, the R129, was a fabric soft top. This was a folding metal roof, as you can see. So previously to this, in 1996, Mercedes brought out the SLK that had a folding metal roof similar to this one. When they produced this one, they decided to make it more complicated. So the actual rear window rotates separately from the frame to what they say take up less space, although I'm sure it's only very minute. So the whole mechanism, including all the flaps and everything, consists of 11 cylinders that are all run by a hydraulic pump in the boot and controlled by a computer. The whole operation is meant to take 16 seconds, but obviously can vary depending on age and pump condition. So in 12 years, you'd ask what's gone wrong. So what has gone wrong? So shortly after, pretty much in the scheme of things of 12 years, shortly after we bought it, it was on a trip. It didn't let anyone down. It was on the way back from the trip, and basically the suspension works. It has hydraulic rams at each corner, and then a ball which is filled with nitrogen and has a rubber membrane that acts as the spring and absorbs the bumps. Basically, when they get old, the membranes split, and then the nitrogen tries to escape and normally finds its way out the reservoir under the bonnet. So that's what happened on this occasion. It blew all the fluid out, which all went down the side of the car, but it also destroyed the pump. So it ended up needing a new pump and the accumulators replaced. So that was one big job. I think it was just over £2,000 to do. The next thing that happened shortly after that was someone basically tried to steal it, I think. So we found the car one morning and all the compartments were open. Someone had been through looking for something, but it wouldn't start. So that ended up needing a new EIS, electronic ignition switch, which I think is a common issue on this age of Mercedes. But yeah, you can only get it from a dealer because it's programmed to the car. So that was replaced and solved that issue. And then the only other major problem that we've had with it is it was stored in a garage, as you should with these, or under a cover, and a mouse, or I think it was a mouse or a squirrel, found its way into the boot, made a home, and then managed to chew through one of the hoses for the roof. So that needs to be repaired, and that was just over £1,000 to rectify that problem. So next question would be, what can go wrong? So I'm just going to show you around the car and just show you what other issues that you can have with one of these. It's not to put anyone off, it's just basically information for you to take into account if you're looking to purchase one. So the main thing is the ABC suspension. So here's the ABC reservoir, and then just down there is the ABC pump. Basically, when Mercedes introduced it, they should have basically said that the fluid should be replaced every 3 years, but they didn't. They said it was sealed for life, which is the issue, to be honest. The fluid gets old, and then it degrades various rubber and stuff in the system. So if you do buy one, change the fluid every 3 years. The issues that you can have are if dirty fluids, the valve blocks become blocked that control all the suspension struts. The accumulators can fail. As I said, this is what happened to this car, and that can lead to the pump failing because the pump is self-lubricating. So if it has no fluid, it detonates itself, basically. Right, so that's that. Next issue that people have is the roofs, because they're very complicated. The roof is over-engineered, as you'd expect. So you've got various seals around the roof. And this one at the bottom of the rear window can become detached over time and then let water in. And then you've also got drains. So just under there, you can see one of the drains there. So you need to make sure these are kept clear, and also holes there that drain down water. So yeah, you need to keep those clear, make sure the seals are in good order. You can lubricate the seals. I use a 303 aerospace lubricant. And if you just do that a couple of times a year, it keeps them nice and soft and working correctly. If the seals do fail or the drains do fail, what happens is the pump for the roof and for all the systems controlled by air, which is like the locking and the seat massage and stuff, is under here. And what will happen is water goes down there, and they actually, I don't know if I can just show you it quickly. So I've covered it in plastic because that's foam wrapped around the pump, which they thought was a great idea because obviously foam will absorb water. So there's that. The cloths you ask are just there as a precaution for when I wash the car with a pressure washer. Sometimes a little couple of drips get in there, so that's the only reason they're there. Couple of other things. These roof flaps become a bit saggy, but they're adjustable, so you can adjust those so they're tighter. The lock is one of the things that's run by air, the boot lock, so they can become worn out. And then what happens is the soft close stops working and it shuts the pump down because it's leaking air. Another thing that we have replaced on this is the seals go or they crack around the number plate light switches. So they just number plate lights, so they need replacing to ensure a good seal. The braking system I've mentioned, the electronic braking system, it has it's got a timer built into it. I think it's 300,000 applications of the brakes, but that's it here. So after that, it throws up an error and you have to replace it. Mercedes were doing them under a warranty, so it's worth checking with a dealer as they may cover the cost of that. Batteries. So you have to keep these on a trickle charger. They have two batteries, one under here, which is a starter battery, and one in the boot, which is the main battery. If they die, the car can get very upset. So yeah, it's best to keep on trickle charger and just swap them occasionally to charge the two batteries. Issues on the interior. There's nothing major to note here. The main one is the gear shifter. The locking mechanism is a plastic clip that holds it, that's released by the brake pedal. And that plastic can break and then the shifter gets stuck in park. So that's one of the major issue. Another one, well not major issue, but issue. Another one is the door handles. Again, with older cars, it's all made of plastic. Bits of plastic can break, so the interior door handles can stop working if you're rough with them. Another common issue when it first came out was the glove box release is controlled by a cable, and that can stretch, so that can need replacing. Another issue as well, most of the car is aluminium, apart from these rear quarter panels, which is steel. So this has been done 3 times now, where you'll get corrosion around the wheel arch and need to have them repaired and painted. I think it was cut out and they repaired it previously. Regards to issues with the engine, as I said, it's pretty much one of Mercedes' most reliable models. So the only real issue was the crankshaft position sensor, which when the car gets hot can fail and just leave you stranded. But they're about £100, they're not really an issue. The valve cover gaskets can leak and need replacing, which is pretty standard. Gearbox, like the suspension, is they say sealed for life, but really it should be replaced every 60,000 miles. And then that is pretty much it of everything that can go wrong. Other than that, they're fantastic cars. You just need to know how to look after them, treat them with some mechanical sympathy, as they say. So what have we spent on the car since we purchased it? So one of the first things that we did when we got it is the trims around the rear window were tarnished. So we replaced those. They're just plastic either side and slide on. So we purchased them from the dealer and fitted them ourselves. And then the car went to a Mercedes specialist where it had the front brakes replaced due to corrosion on the inside through lack of use. And also because of what we found out about the suspension, it had the fluid and filter replaced. The car then needed a new battery, which is when we've realised that it needs to be kept on a trickle charger. So it had a new starter battery. That was on the 1st of September 2014. Then on the 6th of March 2015, it went for a B service and had a ball joint replaced. Following that in July, the CD changer stopped working. So that was sent off and repaired. Then on the 22nd of July, same time as the CD changer, that's when the ABC had its issues and we had to replace the pump. It was then fine. October, it had a new set of rear tyres because you're going to get through tyres on one of these. And the rear arches were repaired in May 16 for the corrosion. That was the first time. Then on the 3rd of November 2016, it had another ABC fluid and filter change, the valve cover gaskets replaced, and rear brake pads, and ABC fluid and filter, as I said again. Then in 2017, it had a B service with a gearbox, belts replaced, the drive shaft flexi coupling, and the boot struts. As with all struts on these cars, the struts get tired and wear out. So that was 2017. Then in 2018, it had an A service and it had an auxiliary coolant pump for the intercooler. Again, this is a common issue. They're not very expensive, they just wear out, it's a pump. So that was replaced, as was the rear window sill that I showed you earlier. Then 2 years, it didn't really have anything. 2020, it just needed a B service, and it had new front Michelin tyres. Then in 2022, again, another 2 years without any issues. The rear arches were done for corrosion again, and also the driver's seat, there was some wear on the bolster, so that was repaired. Now we're getting nearer to the present day. So in July 22, it had an A service and another fluid and filter change. Then that was fine for another year again, and in 2023, it just had, again, new rear tyres, a ball joint on the front and a wheel alignment. Then in 24 was the rodent damage, so that was repaired. That was the hose on the roof pump, that was replaced and that was all sorted. Right, the final and most recent bill for the car, which was last July 2024, it went in to have quite a bit done, but it was mainly just age related, and due to it not being used very much. So it had a full service with a coolant change and the spark plugs. Because these are twin sparks, they have 16 instead of 8 spark plugs, so it's a bit of a job. It had new front and rear discs and pads due to, again, lack of use, corrosion on the inside. New hoses for the brakes. It had new bleeding nipples as well, because one of them wouldn't come undone. And then the brakes have to be bled using a diagnostic computer because it's all electronic. There was an under tray that was replaced. Some exhaust clamps were replaced because they were rusted. New wipers. The boot lock was replaced because that wasn't working, as I mentioned. New wiper blades. Both the belts on the engine were replaced. The accelerator pedal was replaced because that's an electronic pedal. So they can become worn out over time. So that was replaced. And then really the main thing was the roof. One of the 11 cylinders on the roof, which is located just under here, this started to leak. So they had to replace that. So that was a big job as well. So that's all done. So the total cost, you ask. The total cost of ownership of an SL55 over 12 years of ownership, which have all been very enjoyable. So the total cost was, that I worked out, this doesn't include petrol, insurance or tax, by the way. So the total cost for all maintenance, including tyres, wheel refurbs, cosmetic stuff, was £12,788 over 12 years. So just over £1,000 a year. And it works out at £3 per day. So I don't think that's not bad at all, to be honest. It's a very quick car, very capable car, and it offers a lot in terms of equipment, specification, grand touring. So yeah, £3 per day, an SL55. Okay, I just thought I'd give you an interior tour, as you haven't really seen much of the interior in the video. So this car, again, I haven't mentioned actually in the video, it's done just over 67,000 miles, 67,085 miles. So yeah, I'll just show you around the interior. So you've got obviously AMG specific dials there. Just start at the top and work down. So there's the panoramic roof with a manual sunblind. You've got reading lights up here, your main lights. Reading lights are in the bottom of the mirror. This mirror is quite cool as it's electric, so it goes with the memory of the seats. So I don't know if you see that. So the mirror moves with the memory of the seats, which is quite rare. I don't think many cars do that, or whether they gave up on it completely because people tried to adjust it manually and broke it. Up here, you just got a digital clock and your displays for your parking sensors. There you go. So there's that. Then you've got lock and unlock and your hazards. These buttons, they disappeared on later versions, but you can just single it so it's just hot air or just cold air comes out these centre vents. And then you've got the adjustment of your vents here. So the outer ones adjust the outside vents. You then got a very old sat nav system. So yeah, you could have had a telephone, navigation, normal radio, CD changer, which is located behind the seats in the compartment, TV, and then system. There's an auxiliary input in the glove box. There's a cup holder just there. Some of them have 2 cup holders. This only has 1. You've then got climate control. Again, as I was talking with switchgear shared with the SLR, this is exactly the same. And so you've got climate control. If you press it, it's quite cool, and then you can manually control where the air comes from either side. Front windscreen, defrost, recirculate, heated rear window, your fan speed, and then you've got a button to switch the aircon off, the whole system off, or rest, which is where it can use residual heat when you're parked, to keep the car warm. You then get your gear stick, obviously. You've got your drive mode, so you've got winter sport and manual, or winter standard and manual, traction control, which never goes all the way off, and a parking sensors off button. You then have your control for your suspension, where you can adjust the height of the suspension. You've got a button for the sport mode on the suspension, so ABC, active body control. Sport mode, you can switch off your tow-away sensor if you ever went on a ferry, your interior sensor if you left someone in the car, and then your folding mirrors. So you've got those there. Then you've got your roof switch here, so you just pull that back or push that down if that's open and close, and then that's your roll bar to manually raise and lower your roll bar. Over on the steering wheel, you've got buttons to flick through your menu in the display. These screens are really difficult to read in sunlight, so they're pretty much pointless. You've got volume, and you've got pick up and put down the phone. You've got your cruise control, your main stalk, which is the same as every Mercedes stalk for like years, and your adjustment for your steering column. You've got your light switch and your washers for your headlights, and your handbrake release. And then over on the door, you've got your electric windows, your memory seats. This has just got the heated seats, but cooled seats were an option, and your boot release there. Options this hasn't got is they did do Distronic radar cruise control as well. It has got the massage, that was standard on AMGs, so you've got your massage seats down there. Just trying to think anything else. There's your illuminated vanity mirror, you need to see that. This has also got the bag. I purchased the bag, so it's a fitted luggage bag which is held in with these straps. Again, they disappeared on later versions, but they were standard on the early ones. You've got Napa leather, as I mentioned, with these square perforations on the AMGs. All the dashboard on the doors is Napa, and then this up here is just Alcantara. So yeah, there's that. There's storage pockets everywhere, either side and behind the seats, and it's quite cool that they actually lock when you lock the glove box. So if you've got the roof down, it secures the whole car, so the armrest is locked as well, in the middle. So there's everything. I hope you found that interesting. Right guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video on our SL55 and the ownership experience review. I hope you've, well, I wouldn't say enjoyed, I hope you've enjoyed the new format with me in front of the camera. Let us know what you think, and please like and subscribe. God.